Okay, so we're here to discuss the 6 steps to building resilience into our business. It seemed very much a relevant topic given everything that's going on in the economy at the moment. We've kind of stumbled our way through COVID and Brexit and then COVID, and we come out and now we're in, the impact of the Ukraine war and massive inflation and still in this horrible recruitment situation. So resilience is very much a topic that is relevant at the moment. So most of you who've actually managed to get in here already know me. But for those who don't, Claire, I don't think we've met before. So I'm Helen Pethy-Bridge. I have been running my Action Coach business, coaching business for the last 6 years. Prior to that, I was in executive HR roles in various corporates like Diageo, PepsiCo, GE. So I've kind of got a real blend of corporate experience and then SMEs, running my own SME and obviously supporting SMEs through our business coaching. So I'm going to start with one of my favorite formulas that we have here in Action Coach, which is so critical for being resilient, because actually resilience for the business is going to start with resilience from ourselves as business owners. So this very simple formula is be times do equals have. It's a kind of word formula. And what this is saying is basically if we want to end up, or rather what we end up having, is a product of who we are being and what we are doing. So if we want to have a resilient business that is going to take us through whatever the world throws at us in the next number of months and years, that success about having that resilient business is going to be determined by who we are being. Are we being the kind of leader we need to be to lead a resilient business? Are we ourselves being resilient? Are we being optimistic? Are we keeping going? Are we keeping fighting? And are we doing the right things to enable us to be resilient? And if you feel that your business isn't resilient at the moment, then the equation works backwards. Do you need to be doing different things? Or do you need to be being different? And the being bit might be learning new skills. It might be taking a different attitude. So there's a variety of things wrapped in that being, but it's quite an honest equation, I find, for going, actually, am I doing the right things I should be doing? And am I being the person, the leader that I need to be? So always good to reflect on that little equation. And I think particularly in our context today. Also, we have Brad Sugar's actually the founder of Action Coach, and this is one of his quotes, which I think is particularly relevant for resilience. Our choices today create your life for tomorrow. And in fact, one of my clients just came in yesterday in our coaching session, had a really potentially major choice to make, and which would have been life-changing or not, depending on which one is the right choice to make. And when you are in the thick of it, and when the chips seem a bit down and it seems really challenging, it can sometimes be tempting to take the easy choice, but that might not be the right one for the life we want to have tomorrow. So I thought it was very pertinent for us to think about this morning, is when we are making our choices under these challenging situations, just stepping back and checking, actually, are those really in line with the life we want to have, the plans we had? If you've got a 5-year plan, are they in order of that? So we're then going to move through some of the key elements of our model for building a successful business and look at how that works from a point of view of resilience. So the 2-minute version of this model is at the bottom there, we've got mastery. So our foundation layer of building a business to create a stable business, where we're looking at clarity of where we're going as a business, our time mastery, our financial mastery, and our operational mastery. And we'll spend some more time on each of those. And when we've got those foundations secure, then we're able to go up to our niche layer, which is our sales and marketing layer, and really drive the revenue and the cash flow and the profits. But if we want to make sure we're operating from a stable base before expanding, otherwise we're sort of building on a bit of a shaky foundation. The niche layer is our sales and marketing, as I said. It's also very specific to each business. I talk about it as being the secret sauce for your business, that exact combination of marketing and sales strategies and wording that is going to attract the clients that you're looking for. So it does take time. It's a lot of test and measure, but when you've got that sorted, we can then step up to leverage, which is our efficiency layer, doing more with less. And then ultimately we then focus on expanding the team, which is where the business owner really gets their time back. Those are the 4 layers where most of the work is done. At the point you've got team in place, and direct reports, and ultimately potentially a general manager in place, that's when you've got a well-oiled machine. And then in the synergy layer, you can replicate that, franchise it, license it, go into an adjacency, lots of different options there to amplify the profits you're getting from that well-oiled machine. And then our results layer is very much our wealth management layer. But the action happens in the mastery, niche, leverage, team layers. So we're going to go digging in there and see how we can make sure those are really resilient. So first off, I think, and a bit back to that point I made about choices, destination mastery is all about knowing where you're taking your business, really where you're taking it. What is your goal for the business? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years? Have you got a direction, an area of specialism? Have you got clarity for the next 12 months? Because when you hit bumps in the road, it's very easy to become reactive. And actually, there might be a need to tweak the ultimate destination, but actually it might just be a different route. You're still going the same direction. And without those guardrails in place, keeping you on that straight and narrow journey to your destination, it can be easy to be pulled into what I call shiny object syndrome. Something looks interesting and we'll just go off and explore that. But it wasn't actually going to take you down your core direction for your future. So destination mastery, it's about having that ultimate vision for your business. Where are you ultimately going? What's the ultimate footprint you want your business to leave with your consumers, with your employees in the marketplace? What we call your mission. What are the key elements that are going to drive your business to that ultimate vision? And then most crucially, what's the culture you want to develop, you want to have within your business that your clients experience, your employees experience, your suppliers experience? What's that culture? Is that determined? Because a business always has a culture. It's just whether it's the one you meant it to have. So I think those 3 are absolutely key for a resilient business, because those are which are going to hold you kind of true to your path. So this is where we start to have a bit of fun. If you pick up your mobile phones and jump onto menti.com, I don't know if you've been there before, but it's a good bit of interaction. Literally just put into the browser menti.com and it will ask you for a code, which is, I think I might have covered up on my screen here. The code is 77884186 at the top of the screen there. So when you grabbed your phone and got into Menti, I will know because we'll get the results coming in. Then see which of these destination essentials have it. Great, first person's in there. Somebody's got all 3 in, brilliant. Got values, but not the other 2. Anybody else got in there? I realise probably in a couple more of you to get in there. So there we go. Okay, this is good. So we've got values set. The missing bit, which is as important, almost more important, is the vision and the mission in terms of where are we going, because that's what's going to give us direction through any rocky times. Excellent. Let's keep going because I'm conscious we started late. So that's destination mastery. Financial mastery is absolutely key to be resilient. So I'm going to quickly run through the absolute essentials that we need here. First off is knowing your break-even point. What is the point where those fixed costs are all covered off, and at that point, and your variable cost for that volume, and at that point you're into profit. So knowing that break-even point, how much revenue do you have to get in to break even, i.e. not be making a loss? Because if your revenue go down through whatever challenges, that's okay, as long as your costs come down in a corresponding way. I know a number of businesses who actually became more profitable through COVID. Their revenue came down, but they took action to reduce their costs even more, and their profitability went up. But you have to know your break-even point to be managing that. Other critical in challenging times is monitoring your cash flow. So cash flow being the flow of money in and out of your business. So the money that's coming in through your sales, and then the money going out through your expenses, basically, and the cost of goods to produce your product or service. And this is, those astute amongst you will see that this diagram has one very big issue with it, which is the inflow pipe is smaller than the outflow pipe. Clearly, we want it to be the other way around. We want a bigger cash inflow and a smaller cash outflow, because that means we're going to build our cash in hand. But as people are, I know, if orders are coming in slower than you were thinking, then maybe deposits are coming in less quickly, costs still going out. If you're investing for growth, that might be more cash going out than cash coming in. So it's really critical to be watching this like a hawk, because not only you're consciously thinking about how to build a resilient business because you're here on the webinar, there's a number of businesses, a lot of your clients might not be. And as they are, potentially coming up against challenges, they might be slower to pay you, etc., which could lead to some cash flow gaps. So monitoring your cash flow on a weekly basis, absolutely important. Budgeting. I love this picture. These are my Monopoly hotels and houses, because when we play Monopoly as a family, I have two sons. One was getting really excited and was just could finally buy some hotels, I think. And he was about to shell out all his money. And I was like, hang on a minute, look where you're coming up to. There's Dad and your brother. They've got a whole stack of hotels down that side. The chances of you getting around that bit of the board without landing on one is low. You need to keep your cash in your pocket to pay any fines you get. And the same in business. We need to have a budget. What are you anticipating getting in terms of sales? What are you anticipating spending? If you haven't got a budget, you are flying blind in your business. And then finally, reporting. Looking back at, okay, you budgeted, this is what you anticipated was happening, but what actually happened? So it is a backward look, but it does help inform how accurate you were in your budgeting and how you can adjust going forwards. The final piece of financial mastery that I don't have a little picture for is having that buffer and in the bank. Just having a bank balance. I mean, the advice would be 3 months costs. I know, that got a lot of people through COVID and the challenges there. And I appreciate not everybody has had the opportunity to replenish that, and yet we're into more challenges. But do think about how you can build that cash buffer in the bank. So again, on your mentee, very quickly, which of these different, I call that the rainy day fund here, that's your buffer. Which of these do you need to get more clarity on, get tighter in terms of managing any of these, or are you all good? I've just realized the way I phrased this question, I'm not going to see, because if you're all good, nobody's going to write anything. Let's just see. Anybody got something to be working on here? Okay, bit more clarity on budgeting. What I'm saying here, absolutely. Budgeting is gives you a bit of confidence, to be honest, when you know what you're projecting to be getting in and getting out, as it were. You can then manage much more knowledgeably and actually a bit less stressfully, because and then you can assess how accurate that is week by week, month by month. Okay, so some of you got a little bit of homework to do there on the budgeting and a bit on the reporting, and somebody's building up their rainy day fund. Fantastic. So third area of mastery is time mastery. When things get tight and challenging, our time tends to be the one that suffers, and we end up working longer and longer and trying to fit everything in, particularly if you've got less team around at the moment, either from an affordability point of view or because you simply can't find them to recruit them. So we need to be super careful about how we're using our time. So I just wanted to run through this model of the different ways our time gets taken up. So think of this as a target, an archery target. We're aiming for the middle, the bullseye in the middle. In our outer areas here, we've got our zone. We're calling it, it's the place where the tasks are not urgent and not important. And some of you might be thinking, what on earth that? Of course, if it wasn't urgent, it wasn't important, I wouldn't be doing it. But it is amazing how many things creep into that area. So let's just check how many of us have been just a little bit tied to BBC News in the last 24 hours to see whether we have a Prime Minister left or not. Probably a few of us, I imagine. Now, from a business point of view, that's probably not urgent or important. My weakness here is LinkedIn. I absolutely need to use it in part of building this business, but it's very easy to get distracted and end up, oh, what's somebody doing over here? Oh, they've moved there. That's interesting. I'll read that article. All that is not urgent, not important. The one little thing I went to do on there is, but I end up spending time doing other things. So that's our zone of distraction. So be really mindful about what are you, sometimes self-justifying is okay, but in reality, it isn't urgent or important for your business. Next up, we've got the urgent and not important. So these are things that have bobbed up. They have to be dealt with. They're like a little emergency, but fundamentally, they're not that important to the growth of your business. But it's happened. The printer's run out of ink. You've got to put the ink in because you need to print it, but it's not important. It's just urgent. It has to be done. One of the biggest areas of things that can impinge on your time, for those of you who have team, is your team members bringing their urgent things. So it's not your urgent thing, but they've got something, they've left it at the last minute. They urgently now need you to sign something off, review it. When actually, if they'd been more timely, it wouldn't have hit this urgent button for you. And so it's urgent for them, but it's not necessarily important for you. And this is where we call this zone the delusion zone, because it feels like we're doing the right stuff. But if we're honest, we're not. It's not moving our business forward necessarily. It's just keeping the lights on type of stuff. We go one step in towards our bullseye zone here. And this is the work that is important and it is urgent. And this should be about 70% of your time. 60 to 70% of your time, which is where you are adding value, where you expect to be playing, where it is important for the business. So this could be doing your business development work. It could be, well, whatever the key roles are, delivering your product or service. It's your area of demand. But the middle bit, the most important bit, is this not urgent but important zone in the middle. This is the bullseye. And really, you want to be spending 20% of your time in here. That's 1 day a week on not urgent but important stuff. Now, this is things a bit like doing your planning, doing a strategy review, doing a competitor analysis. Who's done a competitor analysis recently? It's one of those things that you know you should do, but it never gets urgent and therefore it doesn't ever happen. 5-year planning can be like that. Your business isn't going to fall over because you haven't got a 5-year plan. It's not going to be as growth orientated as it would if you did have one, but because it's never urgent, it tends to not happen, although it is very important. And I think when we get into challenging situations, the thing that suffers most is probably the urgent and not important level comes up, and our absolute key zone of not urgent but important in the middle there, that gets really shrunk because we're too busy doing the urgent bits. So be really conscious for a resilient, going back to that B times do equals have, as a leader, you need to be prioritizing those important things and make sure they don't fall off the radar in the face of whatever is happening in the immediate times. So, third area of mastery at the bottom, our mastery layer, is delivery mastery. This is all about getting your product or service consistently to your clients in a way that they are very happy with. So usually when we score this is the area where businesses score the best, because this is what you're there to do. If you're an IT business, this is doing IT. If it's accounting, this is doing accounts, etc. When we just dig a little bit, it's good to understand how established are the processes that allow you to create that consistent experience. Because if that consistency is happening, A, because it's you turning the wheel a lot, or it's all up in your head, that's not very robust and very resilient. We want to have it documented. I say documented, it might be checklists, flow charts, videos, a recorded way of how you create that consistent experience for your customers. Because when you have that, then if you need to replace staff or things change, there's a point of reference that others can follow and pick up. So how would you rate, on a score of 1 to 5 back on the Menti, how would you rate the completeness of your key process documentation, the key things that you need to service your customers in a consistent way? Which might be all the way from your sales process to onboarding them as new clients, to servicing their needs and annual reviews, etc. How clear is it in your business how stuff is done round at your place? Good, we've got a 2. 2.5. Oh, that's the average, is 2.5. Okay, so we've got a 2 and a 3 there. I can work that one out. Okay, so then just have a think, what would be the next thing to tackle to make it more robust? What would be the next critical process that actually it's vitally important is consistently done to maintain, because we want to keep these customers through these resilient times? What's the next thing for you to focus on? Just jot that down in your notes. So that's the 4 elements of our foundations. Destination mastery, where are we going? Are we looking after the finances? Have we got our time focused on the right areas? And are we consistently delivering? So now we can step up to niche. The niche is all about driving this profitable business that we want to have. And when we're clear and effective in our niche, this is where we can get to the point of having very predictable cash flow. Because when we invest in marketing, we know that we're getting more profit back than what we invested in the marketing. And the prerequisite for this is to get ourselves out of price competition. So this could be a bit of a challenging thought for people if this is the first time you've come across our definition of a niche. So it's somewhere where you are not in price competition because you are being or doing something that is different to your competition and it's worth paying more for. And that "and" is critical because I have seen plenty of businesses with some very interesting products and services that look great and you'd think logically would be very attractive, but for some reason they're not. And the customers are not perceiving that it's worth paying more for. So in order to get out of price competition, you have to be something or a series of things that create an original experience and it's worth paying more for. And then they're going to come to you because they want that experience. Whether it's a service or a product, they want what that does for them and they're prepared to pay a little bit more for it. And that's where we want to get to. And that is a very strong position for your business to be in. As we move towards that and we look at our marketing to get that message out, so we have to know what that is in order to be marketing that out, then we absolutely need to test and measure whether it's working, whether we're keeping that, and if that's the same. So testing and measuring throughout our marketing is critical. And now I'm going to just take you through our 5 ways of growing the business and the 5 levers we have to profits, because when we're monitoring these and testing and measuring these, we can be much more confident about the resilience of our business. So to begin with, most business owners off the top of the head can tell you what their revenue is, maybe what their monthly revenue is or their last month's revenue is, how much profit they're making. And depending on the type of business, some may or may not know how many customers they have, but those would be the basic kind of numbers that I'd expect a business owner to know. But these are all what I would call outcomes. So if we see them here in the red, the customers, the revenue, the profit, those are outcomes. And what do I mean by that? I mean, the number of customers you've got is an outcome of how many leads your marketing has generated and how many of those leads your sales process converted. So the more leads you get in and the higher your conversion rate, the more customers you're going to get. So your customers is an outcome of those 2 factors. Your revenue is an outcome of how many customers you've got, how many times they transact with you, and the value of each one of those transactions. And that does mathematically create your revenue. No accountant would ever work it out like that, but it does mathematically work. And then your profit is an outcome of your profit margin multiplied by your revenue. So we highly recommend, rather than focusing on the red points, the customer's revenue and profit, which are outcomes, it's much more effective to focus on the inputs, which are the blue ones: your number of leads, your conversion rate, transactions, and your profit margin. So let me bring this to life a little bit. We can have a hypothetical business. I often use a dog kenneling business, and you'll work out why very quickly, because we start off by having a number of leads for the dog business. I know, really bad joke for a Thursday lunchtime. But say in our business we had 240 leads. There was a conversion rate, look at this maybe on an annual basis, 240 leads a year. They convert 25%, so they get 60 customers in that year. Those customers on average have 12 transactions a year. Actually, I think I've changed these numbers from my kenneling business. Looking at that, nobody's going to send a dog to the kennels once a month. This is a services business, she says, looking at it. Looks far more like a service bit, an accountant or a marketing business. They've got 12 transactions a year. There's a monthly retainer going on, and each monthly retainer is £2,000, something like that. That then gives us our revenue of 1.44 million, which is our 60 customers times by our 12 monthly transactions times by our average value of transaction of 2,000. They're running at a profit margin of 25%, giving us 360,000 profit. So we have to start off by knowing what those numbers are, and tracking those. And not everybody does. So we'll find out in a minute what you're tracking. But you have to track these to know, to be able to work out your starting point. Then we can work on strategies to increase those number of leads. And so in this example, we are increasing our number of leads by 10%. So we're adding 24 to our 240. So now we've got 264 leads. We're increasing the conversion rate by improving our sales process, for example, really looking at every step, how can we make it as effective as possible? And we're increasing that conversion rate by 10% to give us a new conversion rate of 27.5. And that, just changing the number of leads and our marketing strategies and improving our sales process, we've now got an extra 12.6 customers. We then can look at how can we increase the number of transactions. So how can we offer more opportunities for them to purchase from us? So if we're a services business, are there additional services we can offer that would involve an additional one-off transaction above the monthly retainer, for example? And can we increase our average value sale, which will, the obvious way to do that is put the price up. There's a lot of people putting prices up now from a cost point of view, so that's probably not actually going to add to profitability at the minute. But also we can put the average value of a sale up by having more premium products, bulk products, bulk being interpreted either product or services, buying more 6 months at a time, for example. So looking at strategies to increase those, and then when we've increased 4 lots of 10%, we get the compound effect. So our revenue has actually gone up to 2.1 million, as you can see here, which is a 46% increase. Add in our last lever of profit margins. So if we've put the prices up, that will help the profits, get more effective in our purchasing and procurement activities, for example, put in efficiency. By adding scale, if you keep the rest of your costs flat, you are also going to drive profit margins up. And with 5 lots of 10% increases, we get a compound of 61%, and we get this almost 580,000 profit now. So when you're proactively driving these different levers in your business, you are driving that. If from a point of view of resilience, we might be aiming for the 10%, but hey, if we've got 8% or 5% even on each of those, that's going to make a real positive difference to our business, rather than sitting back and just hoping everything's going to keep going. So being very proactive with running strategies against these 5 areas is how you're going to maintain that cash flow and ensure that your profitability is resilient. So you can see from those numbers, and I love Atul Gawande is one of my favorite authors and thinkers at the moment. He's now an American-based medic. But you can see from that, to get a 61% increase in profit isn't a whole heap of, it's not a huge big change, it's 5 little changes. It takes diligence, it takes continuity, it takes keeping going at it. And it absolutely takes a willingness to try, because if you're not even aiming for that, you're certainly not going to get those benefits. But it is very doable. So having had a quick trip through that, think about in your business, which of these, and you can tick as many of these as you are, which of these are you currently tracking? Are you tracking how many leads you're getting in? Are you tracking your conversion rate of leads to sales? To getting a client on board? Are you tracking how many transactions your customers are having with you? Are you tracking the value on average of those? And are you tracking your net profit margin? So up with the mentee on the phone, which ones are you tracking? Tracking at the end of it. That's interesting. So actually the beginning ones are not. So yeah, have a little think about how you could track how many leads you're getting in, whether that's from your digital marketing, word of mouth. Now for me, a lead is somebody who has expressed an interest in the product or service you offer, might not be your product or service, it is somebody's product or service. They need that thing and you've got a way of communicating directly with them, then that's a lead. So it sounds like we need a bit more tracking of leads and how many of those leads are actually turning into business. Because in terms of growing your profits, the first place to start is your profit margin, looking at your costs, price up, cost down. Second place to look is your conversion rate, because it doesn't, that's a sales skill, basically. The last place we look is increasing the number of leads, because that tends to require a big either time investment or money investment. But conversion rate looks like an opportunity for some of you here. Okie dokie. So we're going to finish up looking at our team layer. I've missed out leverage, that's efficiency, because it is absolutely important, but I wanted to get on to how we can think about supporting your team to be resilient, as they are such a critical part of your business. And they're so critical because of this image, which I find hugely helpful and very true, which is typically, you know, an owner can find themselves pulled in multiple directions. Yes, they are pulled to look after the team. They're also pulled to look after customers. And then they're worrying about the business. Is there enough money to pay all the suppliers, etc.? So the owner can end up pulled in these multitude of directions. Whereas in fact, and when things get challenging, they tend to be skewed towards customers and business. Whereas in fact, the most effective way to manage the cycle of business is for the owner to really focus on the team. When you have got a stable, skilled, motivated and engaged team who know what they're doing, they're very effective in their roles, they will look after the customers for you through producing quality product and service, through their communications with the team, with the customers, sorry. So the team will really look after your customers. And then because you've got happy customers, they're going to be referring you, they're going to be coming back, they're going to be staying with you, buying more from you. And that will help look after the business. So the business can then look after you, the owner, in terms of dividends, etc. But the unlock is actually focusing on the team to make the team the best it can possibly be so they can look after the customers. And then we give you, the owner, this kind of single point of focus here on the team. At the moment, I don't know a single sector that is not struggling to recruit talent. There seems to be an absolute dearth of talent in every sector anybody talks to me about. So retaining your team is absolutely critical. So this does feel very important that you're focusing on your team, because a big part of it at the moment, having a resilient business, is having a resilient team. So how are you going to do that? We're going to start with having really strong leadership. The team are going to look to the leaders for their direction, for how they're conducting themselves. They want to see the leaders being strong and resilient, being confident, being creative, being upbeat, being positive, and they'll follow that lead. If you don't have that, you know, it's kind of time to go home, really. When we've got strong leadership, we also then need a common goal. A common goal is something that the team can really get behind. So a profitability goal is something that, to be honest, is what the leadership is going to benefit from financially, unless you've got a profit share system in place. And then it's a very delayed sort of benefit, if you like. So profit revenue goals tend not to be very motivating. We want a common goal that everybody can get behind, that is appropriate to the environment and the situation that you and the business are in. The next 2 points, or underneath that, we then get these two very important aspects: the rules of the game and the action plan. So the rules of the game are very much, if we think about a sports analogy, we've got the women's Euros just kicked off. The rules of the game of football are completely not understood by me, because I don't understand football, but they're pretty clear for most others, other than the offside, I think. You know, goalie's the only one who can touch the ball with the hands, etc. I do know that one, but there's various rules: who can go where, what they can do, etc. Where the ball has to be, it has to stay within the lines, etc. What are the rules of the game for your business? And this can cover everything from, you know, we turn up, I want you at your desks, breakfast eaten, ready to go, everything switched on at 9 o'clock, or the rules of the game is we answer the phone on the second ring, or, you know, we work remotely, but we work with our videos on or with videos off, whatever it is, it's how you want things done around your way and what the expectations are and how stuff gets done. The action plan is the little steps by steps that are going to take the business towards reaching that common goal. So if we're launching a new product or into a new market or a new marketing strategy, it's everything that needs to happen to make that live and real. And when people know what's expected of them in terms of the rules of the game, and they know what they're meant to be doing from the action plan point of view, they will be far more engaged. When we, my favorite book here, Marcus Buckingham, First Break All the Rules, this was a deep, deep Gallup study and came up with the 12, you might have heard of them, the Gallup 12 questions for engagement. And they're in order of importance. Question number 1 is, I know what's expected of me. That is the most important thing an employee needs to know to be engaged at work. I know what is expected of me, and that comes from the common goal, the rules of the game, and the action plan. So if you haven't got those very clear and overt for people, that's definitely a priority to get in place. We then get to point 5 here, which is supporting risk-taking. What we mean there is when they've got this clarity about how and what to do, we then need to let them get on and do it and step back and let them do it. In our game of football, our lionesses will have done all the training, all the strategizing, all the game planning with their manager. But when they went onto the pitch last night, the manager has to step back a bit and leave it to them. Come half time, they can then regroup. But they have to let them get on and execute the plan that was there. And one of the most disengaging things a manager or an owner can do is micromanage and not allow them just to get on. So be very conscious about that. Point number 6, 100% participation and inclusion. In challenging times, we want everybody's best ideas. We want their thoughts, their perceptions, their perspectives. And so we want that from all of our team members. So it takes 2 to tango in this. You as the leader have to include them. You have to give opportunities to hear from them, get their ideas, get their perspectives. And they have to feel comfortable to give that. And they have to step forward and share that. So we need both sides of that, but that will give us the richness to really help the business thrive. And then finally, point number 7, learning and development. Things are changing very rapidly. And therefore, we're continually needing to learn and update new skills, new ways around, new ways of doing things, more effective, efficient, cost-efficient ways of doing things, new software, etc. So there's a constant learning and development opportunity there. So that was a really quick trot through, and even quicker than I was thinking, given our slight technical hitches at the beginning there. But hopefully that's given you some things to think about. And another great quote here from Karen Brady, very appropriate actually, given our footballing times at the moment. I love this: 3 types of people in business. Those who make things happen, that's who we want to be. Those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. Now, I think it's fair to say in COVID, I saw all 3 of these things happening. And there were some people who were sitting and suddenly went, whoa, a year in, what did just happen? So just think about, what do you need to do to make sure you're one of the people in that first camp who make things happen? Because that's how you're going to build resilience. So have a quick look. We've got like 30 seconds, I think. have a think about what we've covered. If you've been making notes, have a quick look through your notes and think about what is the action you are going to take to build more resilience into your business. Do you need to be more planful with where your time is actually spent? Do you need to get a clear vision and mission in place? Do you need to be tracking some different numbers in those 5 levers? What is that one thing? And in fact, pop it in the chat box, because once you verbalize and be public about what you're going to do, it absolutely increases your ownership of that to do that. And then whilst you're doing that, I'm very happy to pick up any questions now, or if it's more kind of personal to your business, then do give me a call afterwards. But yeah, any questions at the moment, realizing we're just at the top of the hour. No. Let's get some actions in the chat box. Haha, excellent. Share this content. Yes. Well, Sarah, in fact, what we will do is I have been recording this. So yeah, share the content, might be quicker. You'll see it down, but we'll also have the sort of 45-minute recording as well to help you. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us and bearing with the technical issues and getting into the Zoom today. And look forward to touching base shortly. Take care then. Bye.